status hearings in each case.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and Marissa Herrera is my parenting specialist today.
Ryan Turman on behalf of respondent father. Derek Bennett isn't ready.
Stacey Zabala on behalf of the kids here and ready.
Okay. What do we have new since the status report was filed?
The mother has signed her family plan of service as of this week. So I was able to e-file that. All parents have signed their family plan and willing to work services, and the children are doing well.
So we've had recent contact with her then.
Yes.
Okay, and has Ms. Galloway been given the paperwork to see if to apply for a court-appointed attorney?
I'm not sure if investigations gave it to her. I've only met with her in person one time and she didn't need it at that time. And so I haven't given it to her yet.
Okay, well, we need to make sure she has that. Make sure that, I mean, it's likely been given to her, but I don't know, people seem to lose track of things. So let's make sure that she does have that. Because so far she has not reached out to us and requested one. Same thing, Mr. Fletcher. Have you been given that paperwork?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You know, I'd strongly suggest to you that you fill it out and return it, and let's see if you qualify. And you know, if you do, then you'll have some guidance through this process. If you know, if you don't qualify, then you always have the opportunity to retain an attorney if you want to do that.
Of course.
Okay. Mr. Turman, anything on behalf of your client?
Judge, yeah, a couple things. I spoke with Mr. Bennett. We would like to request paternity testing in this case, where there's any adjudication made.
Okay. All right, we'll get it set up. Mr. Trout, if you get me an order, we'll get that going.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else, Mr. Turman?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, and then Mr. Fletcher, anything you want to talk about today?
No, ma'am. I understand all the paperwork. Gone through everything a couple times.
All right, Mr. Fletcher, do you, you are not what we call an adjudicated or a presumed father. Do you also wish to have genetic testing done?
On Sage, yes, but I know for sure Hazel is mine.
Okay, the child that I have is in our case is Audrey. So that would be the only one that we would be doing any genetic testing on. Do you wish to have that done, or do you believe that you are the father?
I do believe that I am father.
All right. But you're sure you don't want to have any genetic testing done?
Just to be on the safe side, I'm willing to do genetic testing, yes.
Okay. All right, so let's get that started on both alleged fathers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Fletcher, that's the kind of thing that, you know, if you have a lawyer, your lawyer can tell you the ins and the outs of that, but I think that's probably it. I mean, I think it's a wise decision to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, both girls are doing really well. There was a situation with lice at the beginning, but I believe that is completely under control now, hopefully. But everybody's doing well.
Okay. Are the children placed together?
They are.
Okay, great. And are they in region?
They are in region, but in Lubbock.
Okay. All right. Okay, then I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the children's current placement and find that there's still a continuing danger for the children to return home. Mr. Bennett and Mr. Fletcher, let me talk to you real quickly about these service plans. They are so important to the success of this case. And this is the stage of everything that I'm required by law to tell you some things. So first of all, I'm going to order the service plans as an order of the court today. That's like any other court order. I expect you to abide by it. Secondly, failure to work those services can result in these children not going home to parents. Okay. Whether it's you or the mother, but that's what can happen. In worst case scenario, it can mean termination of your parental rights. So, nobody wants to go down that road. Children need their parents. We want everybody to get it together and step up and provide safe, stable homes for these kids.
Of course.
So, sometimes we get 6 to 8 months into a case and parents haven't started their services, and we have a hearing, and then I start telling you, you're running out of time. You've got 12 months to get these things done. There are some situations where we will extend a case an additional 6 months, but the law requires what we call extraordinary circumstances to do that. So those extensions aren't automatic, and there's got to be some really good reasons for it. And just because you wait till the 10th month to get started on something, that's not a good reason. So take these things seriously, get started on them as soon as you can. We'll get the genetic testing done for both of you so that you got that peace of mind. And then, this can all have a good outcome.
Of course.
So I will see you all back on November 14th of 2023. That will be our next hearing. So I hope by that point in time, y'all both made some significant progress.
Actually, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So why is Mr. Bennett doing paternity testing on Hazel, knowing that he wasn't a part of her life when she was conceived? We didn't even know Mr. Bennett at that time. So why is he requesting testing?
Well, he's been alleged as a father of a child, and so he has to be brought into this lawsuit. Mm-hmm. And then if he's not, that genetic testing will reflect that he's not, and then he'll be dismissed from the case. But it's that simple. His name has been given to us as a potential father, and the law requires us to plead him in as a potential father, and then the genetic testing will determine that one way or the other.
Okay, I just wanted to ask because, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'll come back to the
Thank you
name
all
here in a
very much.
minute.
You're pretty
We're
good.
here for an initial permanency hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and consent and agreement of the parties. And we're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor's making our record. Neither mother or father are present. This case was a transfer case. This came to us. The adversary hearing was held in Randall County, and the case was transferred to us. Ms. Williams, were you involved at that stage?
Yes, ma'am.
Did parents have attorneys?
I don't know where dad is at. Can't find him, can't get a hold of him. Mom said that she submitted her paperwork. She took it up there on March 3rd. And about 2 weeks ago, I asked her about it. She said she never heard back and she would take it back up there. She said she would do it again, but I don't know if she didn't qualify or if she actually took it. I'm not sure.
Well, we don't know. I mean, did she take it to Randall County?
I'm not sure. I can barely get a hold of her. She just said that she did it and that she didn't need help with it.
Mr. Stroud, can you look and see if they had representation at the adversary hearing? All right, Ms. Katie is saying she's checked and they did not. And while we'll go ahead and proceed with our hearing, but Ms. Katie, can you also look to see if they ever filed any affidavits of indigency requesting attorneys?
Judge, I've looked for any stuff regarding attorneys when I set the case up, and they had not.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and Randall doesn't automatically appoint, I don't think, because there was nothing in the emergency order.
And Judge Kim just stuck her head and said no also.
Yeah, okay. All right then. Well, what do we have new since your court report was filed?
Nothing since the court report.
Have we had any contact recently at all with either one?
Madison will text me back, try to meet with her multiple times. she'll text me, but she won't call me and she won't meet up with me. But nothing with Mr. Thomas.
Okay,
And Judge, we would ask to go ahead and get an order for UA and hair follicle in Madison Bar. Really, when Ms. Williams tried to send her last time, she didn't go, so we'd ask for a court order on that.
okay. I didn't hear the last of your sentence, Daniel.
Ms. Williams, I believe, asked her, last time she asked her to go drug screen, she didn't go, so we would ask for a court order on it.
Did either sign service plans?
Yes, Madison signed hers. I mailed Mr. Thomas's to his, but I'm not sure if he ever got it.
Do we know if they're together?
Last Madison told me a few weeks ago, he has her blocked on everything and they have no contact. The visit coordinator said that there's been a few visits where Madison has been talking to Mr. Thomas just on the phone during the visit, and the visit coordinator, told her she can't do that. But Madison has told me that she doesn't know where he's at. She hasn't talked to him. She's blocked. And as far as I know, they're not living together. But I don't know where Madison's living, so I can't go check.
Okay. All right, then. And she's not checked herself into Haven House, as she indicated she was waiting for a bed.
As of yesterday, she had not.
Okay, then I will continue the department, or excuse me, Ms. Zavala, I apologize. I'm going to get an update from you.
Cassius is doing great in his placement. He's got the best dance moves around, and he's got a birthday coming up, and he's thriving where he is, and I've got no worries about him there.
All right, is he in foster home, family?
It's a fictive kin home.
Okay. Could be long-term?
Could be, yes.
Okay, good, because we're not off to a good start. All right, then I will order parents to drug test hair and UA as requested before 4 p.m. today. You can try to get word to them, and then we'll continue everything. Our next hearing is November 14th of 2023. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. Obviously, a finding that there's still an ongoing and continuing danger to the child to be returned home when parents have not initiated any services, haven't done anything to mitigate the reasons for removal, and or we don't even know where they are, where they're living. So, okay, thank you all very much. I want to set finals in both of those, excuse me, a final in that case, that November date, sorry, as a final.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and Jennifer Campos is my permanency specialist today.
Joel Jackson on behalf of the mother, Chelsea Jeffrey. I'm ready, Your Honor. I thought my client was going to be present at this hearing. We provided her with the link to this. Is she in the waiting room by chance?
She is not. I don't have her or Mr. Moreno.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Judge Vince Nowak on behalf of Mr. Marino. I don't expect him today. The last time I talked to him was the day before the last hearing, and at that point he was at the Baton unit in Pampa. He's since been released from there, and I don't have any contact information, but I am as ready as I possibly could be without talking to my client. Thank you, Judge.
Brooks Barfield, ad litem for the children.
All right, so what do we have news since our court report was filed?
The kids are doing very well. I have tried to reach out to Mr. Moreno at the number that Miss Jeffrey had given me. I left the voicemail, never returned my phone call. Don't know where he's living. I did ask Miss Jeffrey, and she said that she thinks he's staying with his grandma, but unsure. That's all the information I have on him. I did go see Miss Jeffrey Thursday last week. We talked about her services and stuff like that. She does have a psychological scheduled. I'm waiting to hear back for the OSAR assessment. I sent in all her paperwork, but I haven't heard anything back, and she hasn't either. And parenting classes, there has been a hit and miss. I don't know why she's having so much trouble getting the link set up. We provide her with a link to several different parenting classes that we utilize, and she just says that they don't work. So I don't know if it's her end or what it is, but she did say that she went to the courthouse and they said that they have some form of parenting classes in Panhandle. She has moved to Panhandle. She's working. She's doing better than she was. She is going to start the in the room classes. I know that no A or anything was part of her family plan, but she wants to take that initiative to do those on her own, which I told her was good. She has been hit and miss visits with Anaya. She has been late several times to those visits, and then she wants the person watching the visits to start them over after everybody's already gone off. And we have a policy of 15 minutes. So those are hit and miss. Visits with Kiara have been going better than they were. Other than that, that's really it.
I read that she's living with her boyfriend and his mother. They're trying to be a support system for her.
Yes.
But that she's not made much progress on services. Does she have transportation, or is she dependent on them for transportation?
She depends on them for transportation. She does not have transportation right now. And we have been scheduling transportation to and from visits. Of course, with Anaya, they are virtual, but we have been transporting her back and forth with Kiara. But other than that, she doesn't have transportation to many places, but she knows that she can ask if she needs it. And we can get it set up for her.
Okay, anything else from St. Francis this morning?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Ms. Campus, I was reviewing the report that you all provided to the court.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be a fair statement to say that Chelsea's been compliant and cooperative with you all?
Yes, sir.
And she's made sure to tell you where she's living, where she's working, things of that nature?
Yes, sir.
She is currently employed, correct?
Yes, sir.
And also you had made reference, excuse me, you had made reference to some drug tests that she had taken, said that she completed 2 UAs and a hair follicle drug test since the last hearing.
Yes, sir.
You had filed the results of those tests with the courts. I took the liberty to take a look at that. It appears to me that the hair follicle test, the levels that were shown on the June 11th, 2023 are considerably down from the UA that was taken on 5/23 of 23. Would you agree with that? Or levels are coming down?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. And, but that wasn't reported in your report that our levels are dropping, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And because the levels are dropping, that would be indicative that she's not using. Now, how you interpret that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, you said that you haven't, you all haven't got the OSAR results back yet. Is that correct?
I had sent in her information. She actually hasn't done it. I had reached out to the person that does our OSAR assessments, and she hasn't responded back to me. So, but I did submit all of her information, and I did ask Chelsea if she had heard from her when I seen her on Thursday, and she said no. And so I reached out to her, and I haven't heard anything back.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Nowak?
Thank you, Judge. Just a few questions, Ms. Campos. And I have in my notes from the last hearing that Mr. Marino did sign the service plan, correct?
Correct.
And I have it from my notes from the last hearing that you gave Mr. Marino a workbook to do services while he was incarcerated. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did he complete that workbook?
I have not heard anything from Mr. Moreno. He never replied to my my messages, and when I had a call set up for him, that's when I found out that he was no longer incarcerated. But I have not heard from him at all.
Do you know one way or the other whether he has completed any services?
No, sir, I do not.
But you do have contact information on him?
Yes, I have a phone number that Miss Jeffrey gave me. I don't know whose phone number that is, but I do have it.
Will you make a note, please, to email me that contact information the minute we get off the minute you're out of court today? How about
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Judge, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Okay, then, Mr. Barfield?
Jennifer, in regards to Anaya, all her medical needs are being met by placement. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they've got that under control. Is that?
Yes, sir. And she's doing very well. She's actually able to stand on her own. They sent me a picture of her and she's actually able to stand on her own now. She's doing very well.
Outstanding. Okay. I don't have any other questions, Judge.
All right, and you have a recommendation today, Mr. Barfield?
I do, Your Honor. I would recommend that the department remain as temporary managing conservators. I recommend placement continue as is. I have a note in my file, Judge, from the last time we met about a potential CASA being appointed in this case. I don't know if it's necessary or not, but I just have a note that I believe that was brought up, that it could possibly help with placement and stuff like that. I don't know if that's still on the table or necessary in this particular case, but I did have that note I wanted to ask about.
We usually run it past CASA to see if they've got an advocate or one of the staff that can take on the case. I don't recall, Miss Katie, do you know anything additional about that?
I don't, I'll have to reach out.
Okay.
Okay, we will, and we'll try to get an advocate assigned. Mr. Barfield, I agree. I always like that, especially when we've got a child with specialized medical needs.
Yeah, and these children are so young. I think sometimes CASA with the younger kids tends to help out, but I mean, obviously subject to availability, I understand. But other than that, basically status quo at this point, Judge.
Okay, we'll see if we can't get somebody assigned to the case. Okay, then I'll continue the department, temporary managing conservator, continue the children's placement. And our next hearing will be November 14th of 2023 for an initial permanency hearing. And we are conducting this through the Zoom program under a finding of good cause and consent and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming and Ms. Taylor is making our record this morning. Okay, we'll take everybody's announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and Tiffany Brown is my privacy specialist today. Present, ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Mom Aurora Casada. My client is not present. I haven't had contact with her, but I am present and ready.
Jay Michelson for the father, Jesse. I have also not had contact with Mr. Casey, but I am present.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the child.
What do we have new since the court report?
Since the court report is filed, nothing new. Placement is currently working on getting licensed to adopt since we have goal change in this case. We did take Aurora to rehab at Center Court and she left the next day at 10 o'clock at night. And Jesse is currently at Randall County Jail serving time there. And he still has an open warrant in Potter County. So after he finishes at Randall, he will then be moved to Potter. And I believe there is an open warrant in Mutual for Aurora. When she left rehab from Center Court, her grandmother picked her up and took her to Mutual. And she stole her cousin's bank information and money. And so there's an open warrant out in Mutual for Aurora.
All right, she bonded out in Moore County, correct?
Correct.
Have those charges been dealt with or they're just pending?
Those are still pending.
Did we ever find out what that was?
No, ma'am. We have not been able to contact Aurora since she got out of Moore County. We believe she's back at the Rest Inn where she was staying at. That's what her family reports. But none of the doors that we've knocked on will open up and allow us entry or let us know if she's there.
Sapien.
I don't have anything new, Judge. I haven't been able to gain contact with my client. I can look into these charges and figure out where they are at.
All right, and Mr. Michelson?
I will get a hold of Mr. Casey at the Randall County Jail and see what he wants to do.
Okay. Ms. Brown, have either of them started any kind of services at all?
No, ma'am. Last time I went to see Jazarian at his Aunt Nina's house where he's placed now, while Aurora was there in usual, when she left Centercore, she did make the statement that she's not worried about working services because once Jesse leaves jail, they're going to get Jazarian and leave. And so I had advised her to talk to Stacy about that. And I also talked to Aaron about that on Friday.
Okay. All right, Ms. Ball.
Your Honor, Jazarian's doing really well with great aunt, and I've got no concerns with him there.
Okay, then. All right, I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the child's current placement. I will set this matter for a final on November 14th of 2023. As we've made no progress in the case as of to date. Obviously, our dismissal date is not until February, so if things change between now and then, we always have time to just vacate that setting and push it out. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and make that our final. Okay, thank you all very much. Everybody have a good day. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and Nicole Brooks is my pregnancy specialist today.
Natalie Archer for Joanna McKinley. She had emailed me last night, Judge, that she did plan to attend this hearing. If you're willing to watch for her in the waiting room.
Sure, I'll keep my eyes open, but so far she's not in.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Mm-hmm.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Dominic.
Okay, and Mr. Eldridge, we knew was maybe not going to be present due to a conflict, but his client, Douglas McKinley, is not present either. Okay, then, what do we have new since our court report was filed?
There's nothing new since the court report was filed.
No progress?
No, ma'am. I have not been able to get a hold of either parent.
Okay. We've made no more progress about the ICWA issue.
No, there was something turned into Lori and it was not eligible. So she sent them back that she needed something that was eligible and we haven't received anything since then. Or legible, not eligible, sorry.
Okay, so have we sent the letter to the Bureau of Indian Affairs?
Yes, ma'am. We got something sent off this month to the Bureau.
Okay. All right. Have we gotten that back yet?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, and they have not initiated visits. They have not initiated any services.
No, ma'am.
Contact from them regarding the child's health, well-being?
I have not had any, no. And the number that I try to call is out of service. I did try sending a letter, but I still have not heard anything.
Mom did give me a different number yesterday.
Okay.
But I tried it twice and she doesn't like to communicate by phone, I believe. So I haven't been able to talk to her, but she did give me a new phone number.
Okay.
You want me to put it in the chat?
Yes, if you would, please. Thank you.
She emailed me that she was going to give me documents to submit, but then I did not receive them.
Okay, Ms. Archer, anything else to report?
Really, Your Honor, I mean, she just doesn't communicate a whole lot to me. I mean, with me. I try to send her any court reports and like I said, she said twice she had things to give me. If anything I've received, I've handed over to the other parties. So I have no new update other than the phone number.
From Mr. Eldridge's email, it appears, I don't think he's had any contact with his client or nothing significant.
And Judge, just so the court knows, we did get service on mom in May. We were able to get her personally served. Dad's, he appeared to have a series of hearings, but we have now sent out to try to get him served once we found a new address and stuff. So that one has been issued. We have not got it back yet, but it has been issued for Dad if we can get him served personally.
Well, you're correct. I mean, he did appear
Yes,
at the adversary hearing.
Yep, I think they actually appeared at the first two hearings, but we appeared at the original one and then reset and came back, and I think he appeared at the second one also.
Dominic is doing really, really well. Placed in the same home he's been since he was in the NICU, and working with ECI, doing everything we need to, and thriving there.
Is this a relative foster home or not?
It's a foster home, but if given the opportunity, they would love to be long-term.
Okay, but they're not related, but
they are not.
Okay.
My client isn't in the waiting room, is she?
She's not.
Okay, I just want to check because it's kind of her deal to lambaste me afterwards.
She is not present.
Okay.
And she would not be under any of the names that are out there.
Okay, thank you.
I do not believe. All right, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I'm going to continue the child's placement. We are set for our final on September 21st of 2023. We're here today, and that will be on 9 o'clock. A motion of the Department of Family and Protective Services requesting court services from the family.
Todd Albee on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and after we've called the case and are ready to proceed, Your Honor, I believe that we can announce an agreement between all the parties.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Sarah. Sorry, TD.
Yeah, TD Hammonds for Father Hunter Gordon.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the kids.
Mr. Alley, what have y'all agreed to?
Judge, Mr. Hammonds has talked to Mr. Gordon, and Mr. Gordon is in agreement that he will agree to work the services as outlined in the petition. Mr. Nowak has not had an opportunity to talk to Miss Gordon, but Mr. Gordon and Miss Gordon are still together living in the same home. So I'm going to announce that we have an agreement that the parties will work services as set out in the petition. However, if Mr. Nowak talks with Miss Gordon, I've advised him that I will agree to a rehearing if she wants to fight it.
Okay, but he at least made some representation that they, as husband and wife and a couple, that they were in agreement.
Correct. They
don't work. Judge, that's my understanding. Having talked to Hunter, I believe they're living together. I mean, that was the last conversation I had with him, and he indicated he would stay in contact with Alexis Gonzalez, the representative from St. Francis, and I will reiterate to him today after this conversation to get a hold of her again and just get started doing whatever they want him to do. They did not want the next step to be taken by the department.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Zavala, have you had access to the children yet?
I have not. We did not have a phone number for them up until just now. I was able to get one, but I would also be in agreement, and we'll be planning to meet out there as soon as possible.
All right, and do you think that it's in the best interest of the children that we move forward with this participation case?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, then, based on those representations, I will find that there's an agreement of the parents to participate in services with the department. I'll sign the order. If for some reason, Mr. Nowak, you get some immediate pushback that the mother was not in agreement, or then I'll go along with the department's agreement to, and we will have a rehearing on it. Counsel, if you will, just stress to Mr. and Ms. Gordon, I mean, based on what I read and the lack of cooperation up until the point in time I signed the order setting this hearing, you know, this only works if they really will fully cooperate. And if we go back to that, we're not going to allow access to the home, or we're not going to drug screen, or we're not going to allow access to the children, then obviously we have a much, you know, bigger problem. And so I just want to stress that you know, the key word here is participation. So we need some quick participation.
I fully understand, Judge. I will convey that to my client.
Yeah, I'll be honest, and you can convey this as well. I had some real concerns based on what was presented to me about whether or not, you know, this case might arise to the next level. So,
right.
You know, we need eyes on these children. We need to see some, like I said, some quick participation and cooperation, and then this can all end well, as you all know.
Right.
Okay. All right, then I'll sign the order, Mr. Abbey, when y'all get that to me. And I appreciate you all appearing today. And, you know, Mr. Novak, let us know if for some reason that's a problem.
Yes, Judge. And I apologize for asking for permission to leave earlier. I just didn't look far enough down the docket. That's my bad. I apologize for that, Judge.
It's okay. And I wasn't paying attention either, but you had something else. So, do you want to proceed today? Or thank you all very much. Your preference be to recess just to give you a little more opportunity to speak with her.
I guess I'd ask the department, is she keeping any kind of contact with the department at all? I mean, I don't know if I guess looking at it, it seemed like the department indicated that she wasn't wanting to work services. And so I don't know if I would just be spinning my wheels. I don't mind. I definitely can try to call her several times this week again.
She did tell me whenever I took the order to her that she wasn't going to participate in any services or get on this hearing or talk to any attorneys or do anything for us.
Okay, well then let's proceed today. And because it all may be short-lived anyway. 2-2, the department versus Sabrina Colbert. And we are here on a motion for court-ordered services. Okay, I will just say that Ms. Colbert is not present. She is represented by Mr. Morales, who had indicated off the record that he's not been able to reach her. But Mr. Alley, I'll just allow you to cover that testimony with regards to department contact with the mom. So who is your first witness?
A.D. Larson, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Larson, you're an investigator working with the Texas Department of Family Protective Services.
Yes.
In that capacity, are you familiar with
Yes.
Cheyenne? And she's how old?
She's 14.
And her mother is whom?
Sabrina Colbert.
And where does well, first of all, what were the reasons that you began an investigation into the home of Miss Colbert?
The first intake was in regards to Cheyenne driving with her stepdad around midnight on June 28th to pick up a gun that he was not driving, someone else was, but he was intoxicated, and that he tried to jump out of the moving vehicle. She was trying to calm him down and he punched her in the mouth. And he ended up pointing a gun at her. He was arrested for assault of a pregnant person and several other charges. And then we did get a second intake just directly after that on June 29th, which reported that at the home of Miss Colbert, there's 10 to 15 unauthorized people staying at or residing at in and out of the home. There's a recently convicted sex offender that's been in and out of the home, and that this has already been reported. to CPS about a month or two ago. It was reported that Cheyenne was having sex with an adult household member and that mom was allowing it. That mom bought Cheyenne a remote controlled vibrator for her to use with the adult household member. And that there was a concern of sex trafficking and prostitution in the home. Cheyenne went to the leasing office and was wearing a remote controlled vibrator in her panties. Cheyenne goes to the leasing office wearing just like boy short underwear, and that's how that was seen. It reports that Sabrina admitted to selling dope and methamphetamines out of the home to make rent so they didn't get evicted, and that she has a bad meth habit and lets the kids in the home use marijuana.
Now, Ms. Larson, did you investigate those allegations as you rattled off for us?
Yes.
And did you determine that Miss 14-year-old was actually pregnant?
She is pregnant.
And did you determine that she was in the home with Miss Colbert and that Miss Colbert was aware that she was having sexual relationships with at least one person in that home?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Did you find out who the person was that was the child, the baby's father?
Yes. His name is Jesse Colander. He's 18 years old and they call him JJ.
And was he being allowed in the home on a regular basis?
He lives in the home.
Did you determine if there were any drug usage by any of the parties in the home?
Miss Colbert refused to drug screen for the department.
Did you determine that there were multiple people that resided in the home and were in the home on a regular basis?
From my own, whenever I've been to the home, I've seen multiple people. I don't know who they are in and out. I don't know who's all living there, but I have seen multiple individuals.
When you attempted to confirm any of the rest of the allegations as set forth in the reports, was Ms. Colbert cooperative with you?
No.
Has she been cooperative in trying to determine if she's using any illegal substances?
No, she stated we needed a court order.
And so we're here today asking the court to order that Ms. Colbert work services, including parenting classes, counseling, an OSAR evaluation, random drug screens.
Yes.
Do you believe that is continued to be in danger because she's being neglected or possibly trafficked out of her home?
Yes.
And do you believe that these ordering that Ms. Colbert participate in services will help to alleviate some of those concerns?
Yes.
Do we know who Miss Father is?
No. I had been told it was Brian Willard, who is actually the stepfather. And in all of our previous CPS history, she has never disclosed the father's name.
So that's another issue that we need to attempt to rectify during this period of time when she was working services for us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'll pass it with Ms. Sharon.
Larson, have you been able to verify whether this child has been in school?
She hasn't been in school since 8th grade. So she did not go last year.
Where was she enrolled in school?
High, I believe.
And did anybody at the school ever reach out to the department saying this child hadn't been in school all year?
No. I believe, Judge, that mom withdrew her saying she was going to be homeschooled.
Guess that's good enough anymore?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Morales, you got any questions from the Larson?
Ms. Larson, I believe it was indicated that she was evicted. Did Ms. Kobler give you any indication of where she was going to be moving to after the eviction?
She didn't, but Cheyenne told me they had been looking at a different rent house, but she wasn't sure what the address was.
Okay, no other questions, Your Honor.
Jerry, she did tell me that they didn't plan to evict her from that until the 1st of August. Like they won't actually have the sheriff's office come out and remove her until the 1st of August. So they should still be in that apartment for the next few days.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Ms. Ball.
Your Honor, I have not been able to have any contact with the family. I'm gonna go back and confirm any other phone numbers with Ms. Larson, but I think we've got possibly one that's supposed to be Cheyenne's direct number. But at this time, I have no questions. I do believe what's been alleged is very concerning, and I believe it would be in her best interest to have the department, have mom be ordered to work services and have the department be able to intervene.
Okay, Mr. Albee, anything further?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Morales.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, I'm gonna sign the, order to participate. And something specific I want in this order, Mr. Albee, is that mom is ordered to produce the child at such time and place as directed by the child's attorney and guardian ad litem. I have serious misgivings about Ms. Zavala trying to go to that home.
Yeah.
But she needs to lay eyes on this kiddo and ultimately somebody needs to go into the home, but I think that needs to be with the assistance or backup of law enforcement. We know of one gun that's already been involved in this situation. I don't have a good feeling about what's going on in that home, and I just don't anticipate Ms. Zavala to go down there and knock on the door and.
Yeah, I agree.
I want a specific language that the mother is ordered to produce the child at time and place as directed by the attorney and guardian ad litem for the child. And we will see where we go from here.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Appreciate y'all. And I know that the requested services are granted. I mean, the order for those will be granted, drug testing, access, all the things that have been requested by the department. But let's just add that one thing.
Judge, can you schedule me a compliance hearing in 30 days?
We have one. I just had announced it. We will have that hearing on October 17th of 2023, and that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. Today's set for our adversary hearing. We are conducting this through the Zoom program under a finding of good cause and consent and agreement of the parties. We are also live streaming on our YouTube channel, and Ms. Taylor is making our record this morning. Okay, well, as far as announcements, let me just announce Mr. Trout is present for the Department of Family and Protective Services. I think he's here with Department Alexis Valenzuela, Michelle Spencer, and Ms. Sessions, and Ms. Zavala is present on behalf of the child. Tony Helsom is present with her attorney, Natalie Archer, and Mr. Helsom is present with Ms. Sapien, his attorney, and Mr. Helsom actually came to the courthouse. He is present in person. He is out in my courtroom. I am now back in my chambers, so that if he needs to speak privately with his attorney again, he has the opportunity to do that. Okay, before we just start calling witnesses, I will just say Ms. Archer has a motion to withdraw on file. I want to ask some questions before we take that up to see if that's necessary to address today or not. So this case is a little different than a lot of our cases. I mean, this is a case that's arisen because a 14-year-old's behaviors apparently were beyond the control of his adoptive parents, Mr. and Ms. Helsom. At the time that I signed the order for protection, it was presented to me that Ms. Helsom and Mr. Helsom have both refused to take possession of the child or to allow the child to move back into one of their homes. And so this is what we call a wrapper case. It's a refusal to accept parental responsibility case. It's a little different than a lot of our abuse and neglect cases. But nevertheless, when this was presented to me, we had a 14-year-old child that had nowhere to go because his parents were saying, I can't control him and I can't keep him here. So, Ms. Helsom, I guess the question today is, what are you wanting? You understand the child is in care right now, pending a decision today. He is in Houston. Ms. Zavala is prepared. She can certainly give you an update on how he is doing. I think the reports are that he's doing quite well where he's at. But, I just need to know, folks, what you want. You want him home? Do you not want him home? Do you want us to stay involved and work with the child? I mean, what's everybody want? So, Ms. Helsom, I'm asking you first.
Yes, ma'am. I love that boy with all my heart.
I don't question that.
I love that boy with all my heart. And I'm
asking Ms. Helsom. All right, you can't interrupt me because we have a court reporter and she's trying to take everything down.
Sorry.
Just listen carefully to my question. I don't doubt that you all love him. You adopted him. You obviously took him out of a bad situation back when all that happened. I don't have any doubt about that. That's rarely a question in a wrapper case. The question is, do you want him back home or do you want us to keep working with him?
I want you to keep working with him because, like I said, I love him with all my heart, but he does not love. He hates women right now. He's angry. He's hurt. This isn't the first time that he's hurt me. It's been going on for about a month, and this is the first time I called the police because I was just tired of it. And
okay, so
he needs help.
Okay. And we understand that that's what you've asked us to do. We have responded already by pulling the child out of the home and getting him into a safe placement where they're equipped to deal with these issues. Now, to keep him there, I have to enter a temporary order that names the department as temporary managing conservator of the child. So otherwise, I got to send him home. I mean, I've got to either name the department temporary managing so we can keep him where he's at and work with him, work with the family, or I need to know where we're going to drop him off.
Yes, ma'am.
So what I'm hearing you say is you want us to stay involved and keep working with him.
Yes, ma'am.
If that's the case, then that means also that there are some things that we are going to want you to do. Okay, because what we don't want to have happen is we don't want a 14-year-old to stay in care of the department until he ages out at age 18. That's the worst case scenario for any child. Okay, we want to work with him and we want to try to get it to a point where it's safe for him to come home. So that also requires the two of you, and I understand you don't live together, but it also requires some level of participation of you two. Would you agree that that's fair? Or are you telling me you're just washing your hands of him today, forever and ever?
I'm in danger if he comes home.
Okay, I understand that you feel that way right now.
He has shown me nothing but
things can change.
He's shown me nothing but disrespect.
Okay,
I get it. Since he came back home, he's been with me for 2.5 years. In 2.5 years, my love has not been good enough. It hasn't been good enough.
Okay.
He has disrespected me. He talks back to me. I have disciplined him. He gets things taken away. I had taken his PlayStation away. I'd taken his phone away. I ground him. He doesn't get to watch TV. If he doesn't come in at the right time, I take a half an hour away from him. I have structure for him. I have rules for him. But if he doesn't want it and he doesn't like it, that's where he fights back. And that's where he's getting aggressive with me.
All right. We work with teens on these very same issues all the time, Ms. Helsom. So my point to you is we may reach a point with him where he understands that that's not the way he can behave and that he learns to not behave that way. And if we get to that point, it may be then he can come back home. But we also are going to need the two of you to work with us on that. I mean, you know, when a family is in this kind of situation, I mean, I say this routinely. I mean, it takes teamwork. Okay. I mean, it takes everyone in the family and everybody in his life to try to help, you know, right the ship. I mean, the ship is upside down right now. And
I'm the only one that's been steering it. I've been steering it by myself.
Okay.
Completely and utterly by myself. And I'm tired and I don't want to get hurt. I do not want to get hurt. That's why I wasn't refusing him. I was protecting myself. I was not refusing him. I don't want to get hurt. You should see the bruises that he put on me. I didn't attack him. He attacked me.
Okay. And I understand that, Ms. Helsom. So I know as we sit here right now today, it's obvious you don't want him back in your home because you are also afraid of him. Okay?
He doesn't love.
I understand that, but all I'm saying is we can try to work with him. Maybe that will change. I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk to your lawyer about, you know, and it's ultimately your decision and Mr. Helsom's decision whether you all are going to work any services or not, you know, but you know, part of this, me naming the department as temporary managing conservator today, you know, at some point I'm just telling you, I'm going to expect that you all will help us with Luke.
Do you know how old I am?
No, ma'am, I don't.
I'm 62. I will be 63. This isn't a 32-year-old mom. This is a 62-year-old mom. I'm going to be 63 years old, and my body can't take being hit and bruised.
Okay. Well, I understand where you are, what your position is as we sit here today. That's very clear to me. All right, Mr. Helsom, I'm going to ask you the same thing. What do you want to do today?
Well, just like Tony, that kid has beat me four times. Arm around the neck, throwing me across his leg, rammed my head into walls. And my body can't take that. I'm 67. My body can't take that car. So
the same question, Mr. Helsom. You're declining for the child to come home with you right now, correct?
Yeah.
All right. And do you want us to keep him and work with him?
I would like to see him get help. There's something wrong. This isn't normal. Okay, I'm in puberty and la-di-da. That's not what's going on here. There's something else wrong.
Okay.
Yes, I want you to work with him.
Okay. Ms. Sapien, is that your understanding from your discussions with Mr. Helsom?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ms. Helsom, do you need to discuss with your attorney anything more before we proceed today?
No, Your Honor.
I would like to add that she does not have a vehicle, although Ms. Helsom, you can tell me if I'm misstating this, but you are not acting to me like you want to do services in order to eventually get them back. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't like it said with my age, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful or cocky in any way. I know that boy inside and out. I had him from the time he was born till he was 8 years old. I should have never, ever let him go to see them. He was the happiest boy. He was carefree. Nothing. He was just the perfect kid. And he came back damaged. He came back ugly and mean. And I have been his rug. His, like I said, she hurt him. She abused him. They slapped him. They hit him. I have never touched him. Never, ever would I hurt him.
Okay, Ms. Helson, no one is accusing you of that. Understand, there's no accusations about that.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
It's just a question of what do we do to help Luke at this point? So I am going to, based on what y'all have told me, I am going to find that the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as a temporary managing conservator of the child. Okay. Based on continuing and ongoing danger to this situation, based on the fact that you and Mr. Helsom have both told me today you cannot take the child back into your care. You both fear for your own safety and health and well-being. And so, it's very clear to me that we've got a 14-year-old that's got some issues and we can't put him back at home. All right. So, Ms. Archer, I'm going to table your motion and allow you to have another conversation with Ms. Helsom just about before the status hearing about services, and Ms. Helsom, if you choose not to work the services, I just want to make sure you understand what the consequences of that can be. And then, we'll talk about that at our next hearing. Same with you, Mr. Helsom. But today, for us to move forward at all, this is what's got to happen. So this is step one. Step two will be whether or not you all choose to work with the department in St. Francis, and do any services, or whether you don't. And then you can talk to your lawyers what the options are. And there are some options, but I can't discuss this with you. Those need to be, you need to talk with your attorneys about it. Ms. Helsom, understand, I know what part of Ms. Archer's, her motion to withdraw is she feels like you all have come to an impasse as far as effective communication, but understand, you've qualified for a court-appointed attorney, all right, based on the information I reviewed that you submitted about your income, your expenses, all that. But understand, Ms. Archer is not your personal driver. She doesn't have time to come to your home, make house calls. She doesn't have time to come pick you up. Your transportation, there are ways the department can help you with transportation, but that's not Mrs. Archer's job. Okay. She just, she's got lots of other clients and obligations, and that's just not part of what being a court-appointed attorney is. Okay. So, but I'm going to at least give you all the opportunity to talk about what is step two, and that's services or not services, and what the consequences of that are, and what your options are at this stage. Okay.
So may I ask a question?
I'm sorry, what?
May I ask a question?
If you can ask it, and I'll let you know if it's something whether I can answer or not.
Okay, you're saying consequences. Because I'm not going to take him back to my home. I'm going to have a consequence for that.
Okay. When I say consequences, I just mean, there is obviously for every action, there is some consequence or, to it. I think that's a question your attorney really needs to address with you. They all know what your options are at this point. I'm happy to just tell you, you can work services. You could not work services, which could result in what we call involuntary termination of your parental rights. You could voluntarily relinquish your rights to the child. Okay. So those are all possibilities. I think the department would like to explore, have enough time to explore, do we have any other family members, any other relatives, any other, close family friends? Are there any other possible, longer term placements for the child? there are things we would like to know that maybe we haven't had an opportunity to explore yet. But when I'm talking about consequences, I'm just talking about possible outcomes of this case. And that one, a possible outcome is that Luke works really hard with counseling and therapy and other things that we can try to do for him. And, maybe he gets this whole thing turned around and maybe he can come home and you'd be good with that because his behaviors have totally changed. The other possibility is that it doesn't matter what Luke does, you're done, you're finished, you're over, and you want to just, you want to be done with it and you don't want to work any services. Okay. That's another possible outcome. So that's all I'm saying is I want each of you to have an opportunity to discuss possible outcomes of the case before the next hearing at the status hearing. And you may decide different things. You're not joined at the hip, so to speak. So Mr. Helson may pick option 1 and you may pick option 3. I mean, it doesn't, you all aren't required to make the same decision. So I want to make sure you've had plenty of opportunity to talk about those things.
It doesn't.
Are you willing to table your motion long enough to have that discussion with Ms. Helsom about what comes after today? And then if you still feel like that's something we need to hear, I'm happy to hear it.
Yes, Your Honor, if she would like to.
Ms. Helsom, are you willing to continue to work with Ms. Archer and cooperate and listen to her, what I would consider to be very sound advice?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because if she withdraws, then I'm going to appoint you another lawyer. If
She already knows what's going on, so I want to keep it with her.
Okay. All right. So, just you understand what her parameters are, though. Is she's not there to be,
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Not there to
No,
drive you and come to you and do all those things. That's why we have telephones and Zoom and other things. Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala, your recommendation is that we name the department and keep Luke where he's at, right?
Yes, Your Honor. And I have been able to visit with him and he is doing well there.
Okay. All right. So like I said, we're naming the department temporary managing for the reasons stated earlier. And I will set the status hearing, which is going to be September 7th. And that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. Your attorneys will make sure you know the Zoom link and what time to log in. Just because my docket will start at 9 o'clock. That doesn't necessarily mean that your case will be set right at 9 o'clock. Just like my docket started at 9 today, but your case wasn't set till 11:15. So it's the same kind of thing. So they'll make sure you know when to log in or whether you need to at all. Okay. Okay. All right, then I'll possibly see everybody back on September 7th. I appreciate Ms. Archer. Thank you very much. Ms. Sapien, thank you. Mr. Helsom, I appreciate your efforts to get up here today. And, from now on, you probably can get logged in on a phone or a computer. If you can't, obviously you can talk to Ms. Sapien about that. You maybe can make arrangements just to be at her office even. So, but she'll talk to you about that.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody got any questions?
No questions, John.
All right, then. Thank you all very much. And that will conclude our morning's docket, I believe.